now moving on. Our first speaker for the symposium today is Professor Penna Madhusudan, and he will be speaking about Mimamsa through the eyes of Sri Vidyaranya. Thank you, Professor Madhusudan, for agreeing for presenting in the symposium. Before we proceed, I just want to introduce Madhusudan to the audience. Professor Penna Madhusudan is a professor of Sanskrit and dean at Kavikulaguru Kalidasa Sanskrit University, Ramtek, Maharashtra. He has been awarded with Sahitya Academy Award for Mahakavya on Gulab Raud Maharaj. He has 45 books to his credit and has recently translated the Gyaneshwari of Sant Gyaneshwar into 9,000 Sanskrit verses. Professor Penna has about 17 awards and honors. He was awarded with honorary D.Litt by National Sanskrit University, Tirupati, for his unique contribution in Indian philosophy. The Tirumala Peetham, established by Bhagavad Ramanujacharya in the 10th century, also conferred upon him the title Shastra Ratnakara. His areas of interest include Yoga, Advaita, and Nyaya. Thank you, sir, for making time for the session. Please go ahead and start the session.
Thank you so much for your kind introduction, sir. Very good morning to all of you. And my humble respects pranam to Mahulikar madam also, because she has introduced Vidyaranya Swami in a very, very beautiful manner, that all the important details of his life sketch are covered there. And many points are new to me also, that the Shrungeri, Kudali and the Tunga. So it's really very interesting, ma'am. Thank you so much. And now today's topic is Mimamsa through the eyes of Vidyaranya. Let me confess in the beginning itself that Mimamsa is like a big ocean, and understanding Mimamsa Shastra itself is really a lifetime achievement, lifetime task. But of course, we have in India great scholars like Professor Mani Dravid Shastriji, Devanathan Guruji, and many other who have mastered this Shastra. So I know my limitations, and I really know how difficult it is to compress all this into a half-an-hour lecture. So Mimamsa is really a big Shastra. But when we try to understand Mimamsa Shastra through the Sutra, Bhashya, Vartika, then very important works on Mimamsa, so we will definitely understand and appreciate the place of our Vidyaranya Swami. Because of him only, Mimamsa Shastra has become very lucid. Of course, credit goes to others like Bhattadipika Kara and others who have contributed. So like we have on one side Bhattadipika, Shastra-dipika, then Mimamsa Paribhashartha-sangraha, many more are there. But the Nyayamala Vistara, Mimamsa, Nyayamala Vistara, of course, has a special place for itself in the vast literature of Mimamsa Shastra. So I request you to allow me to share the screen so that I can share some ideas. Can you see this? Is it visible?
Yes. Can you make it full screen?
Yeah.
Yes. It's
yeah.
visible.
Now it is full. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes. See, when we try to understand the entire Mimamsa Shastra, so we understand that, of course, Mimamsa Shastra is entirely based on Veda. And Veda, as explained by Sayanacharya, Veda is Mantra Brahmanayoho Veda Namadheyam. And the same idea we find in the Shabra Bhashya also. Of course, Shabra Bhashya's that particular sentence was taken by Sayanacharya, and complete definition was given. So, Mantra and Brahmana. Mantraha, Arthasmarakaha. That they say that Yajna Upayogi Arthasmarakaha. especially when a religious ceremony or a ritual is to be performed. And during that particular one, the particular action needs to be remembered, and Arthasmarakaha mantraha, thus mantras are there. And the Samhita part deals with the mantra. But on the other side, we have the Brahmana texts. And Brahmana texts, of course, there is a discussion in the Mimamsa Shastra itself, whether the Brahmana text can be taken as valid or not, authority or not, whether it is equally authoritative like the Samhita or subservient to the Samhita. So that kind of discussion is already there in the Mimamsa Shastra also. And the tradition explains that Brahmana Granthas are basically mantra Vyakhyana Rupaha. So these elaborate and expound the mantras. So we have the mantra part and the Brahmana part. And the entire Mimamsa Shastra will be dealing with all the sentences that occur in the Brahmana texts. Very few are there in the Samhita, like the Krishna Yajurveda, Taittiriya and other, but mostly the sentences are taken from the Brahmana texts. And there, as the Mimamsa texts explain, the Vedic sentences are categorized, are classified into 5 basically. So they, as you see on the screen, Vedic sentences are sometimes of Vidhi nature, Vidhi injunction. And Vidhi means like Swarga Kamo Yajeta or Pashu Kamo Yajeta. So these are Yajeta, Yashtavyam, Yajati. Yajati is also accepted. Yajati not in present, but in the sense of Yajeta. So such sentences are there. They are actually Vidhi. Vidhi, Chodana, Apurva, these are all synonymous. Then we have some sentences that do prohibit. They are Nishedha Vakya, like Mahimsyat Sarva Bhutani, Nanrutam Vadet. There is a big discussion. Nanrutam Vadet, what kind of Nishedha is that? Whether it is Purushartha, Kratvartha or Kratu Purushartha. So this particular discussion is found in the Nishedha, in the Mimamsa Shastra itself. Then we have the pure mantra part. Then Namadheya. Namadheya. Many such sentences are there like Chitra, whether it is Karma or Karma Namadheya. Then Arthavada Vakyas are there, mostly in the form of praising something like Vayurvai Kshepishta Devata. Of course, Ninda Vakya are also there. Barhishi Rajatam Nadeyam. So these are all the different types of sentences in the Veda, which are the subject matter of the Mimamsa Shastra. So when we go through all the 2750 sutras of Jaiminiya or the Shloka Vartika, Tantra Vartika, Tuk-Tika, the Bhashya, then all these Vartika and Tika, and all the other texts, including the latest Artha-sangraha, Mimamsa Paribhasha, we understand that they are trying to understand, explain these sentences because, see, the Apaurushaya sentences, and there is nobody to explain, especially in which context, in what sense these sentences were uttered. Otherwise, Vakturicha Tatparyam, we can easily derive the Tatparya, but the Tatparya of these sentences cannot be easily extracted because there is no Vakta, Apaurushaya. Then when the Tatparya has to be extracted from the sentences where there is no speaker, they are eternal, then what is the source? How can we derive that Tatparya? So for that, the Mimamsa Shastra helps us. Mimamsa Shastra tries to give us the means through which we can get the Tatparya of all these Vedic sentences. So Mimamsa is Veda Vakya Tatparya Nirnayaka Shastra. So thus we can understand. And even in the Vedanta Paribhasha, Dharmaraja Adhurindra has very beautifully explained what is Tatparya, not Vakturicha. because that particular definition does not apply to the Vedic sentences, all the injunctions, etc. So he has given that, for example, one particular artha is being given, then tadartha pratipadana yogyatve sati, artha tadartha janakatva yogyatve sati, tadanyartha janana ayogyatvam sometimes, or tadanyartha ichaya anucharitatva. So thus the Tatparya has been settled in the Vedanta Paribhasha. Now all these sentences find an application in the Yajna, because the Vedic culture says Yajno vai Vishnuhu Yajna evan tatah pratitishthati sotra juhoti. So Yajna is ultimately the Vishnu, the Vyapak, whether it is cosmic Yajna, individual Yajna, Bhuta Yajna, Tapo Yajna, Dravya Yajna, Swadhyaya Yajna, but Yajna is there and Yajna is continuously happening. Only the humans connect with that only to purify themselves, but the Yajna is going on in the form of a cosmic Yajna. Therefore they say Yajno vai Vishnu. Now, when that Yajna was the main core of this Vedic culture, and all the sentences were to be explained in the context of Yajna, and there were misunderstandings of the Vedic sentences, then Jaiminiya Maharshi had felt the necessity of giving a Shastra in the form of Mimamsa. So he had given that. And as I told you, a very big Shastra. Then Shabara Swami had explained all the sutras of Jaimini. Then of course we know from tradition that Shabara Swami, then Vrittikara, so many Upavarsha and other Vrittis were there. And some people say that Jaimini's 12 chapters Mimamsa Shastra and the other Mimamsa Sutra in the form of the Sankarshana Kanda was also added. Thus, big Mimamsa Shastra was created. Then, though that Mimamsa Shastra was explained, and see, the vastness of Mimamsa Shastra can be understood from the variant nature of the Shastra. That you find there the 2750 sutras, then they are arranged in some 12 chapters, and several padas are there. And the number of pada differs from the chapter to chapter, not uniform, because in some you find that there are 4, like in Ashtadhyayi, and in other you find the number of pada is fixed. But in Mimamsa Shastra, the number is not so fixed. So that is different. And another thing is that the Adhikarana means the topics selected for discussion, they are also big. Because the number is very big, you find about 1000 topics being discussed. So 1000 topics, several chapters, sections. So that actually makes the Mimamsa Shastra a very big one. 1000 topics you have to understand and find a coherence among all them. So it's really very difficult task. Therefore, the Shabara Swami Bhashya, then our Kumarila Bhatta Vartika, first it is Shloka Vartika, then elaborate prose exposition in the form of Tantra Vartika, then a brief exposition in the form of Tuk-Tika he had written. Then we have great stalwarts working on the basic tenets of Mimamsa Shastra. We have the Bruhati of Prabhakara, then we have Parthasarathi Mishra, Shalika Natha, then several other, including Vachaspati. So this was the big Mimamsa Shastra that actually baffled all the scholars, and without this Mimamsa Shastra, or you can say a clear understanding of Mimamsa Shastra, one could not dare an attempt on the exposition of any other Shastra. Take for example the Vedanta. We find several Mimamsa theories are referred to in the Vedanta Shastra also, like Tattva Samanvayat here, or in other areas, even in the Adhato Brahma Jignasa. So the influence of Shabara Bhashya can be felt on the Shankara Bhashya also, if we believe that Shankaracharya succeeded Shabara Swami. Or as some people believe, if Shankaracharya's time is placed somewhere around the 1st century, 2nd century BC, then they either become contemporaries or Shabara Swami may become a successor of Shankaracharya. So it is always debated. Now, the first one is Vidhi, and Mīmāṃsā Nyaya Vistara of Vidyaranya Swami deals with these Vidhi only. Now, we come to this, the purpose of Mīmāṃsā Nyaya Vistara. As Madam was explaining, this Bukkaraya Mahipati, so he had in a way ordered, so he had passed an order, or you can say in soft terms, he had requested our Madhavacharya to explain the Mimamsa Shastra, because he found that Mimamsa is very difficult and people cannot easily remember the final theories, the discussions of Mimamsa Shastra, because the Purvapaksha and the Sangati, then Yukti, then Uttarapaksha. So it's very difficult. Small Shastras you can easily understand, but what about other big Shastras? So you have there the Adhikarana, then Adhikarana Sangati will come, then Pada Sangati, then Adhyaya Sangati, Shastra Sangati. So how to connect? All these connections are provided, of course, in the Bhashya, and they are beautifully presented in the Vartika also. But not all people are equally capable of getting that without much effort. So a kind of easing the entire system was required. And Mandana Mishra, of course, in the beginning, Mandana Mishra had written Mīmāṃsā Anukramanika, and Mīmāṃsā Anukramani presented this kind of thing that Mandana Mishra had tried to explain the Purvapaksha, Siddhanta Paksha, everything in a couplet, in a shloka. For example, in the Karma Bheda, we find a shloka, Shabdantare Vidhiyute Khalu Karma Bhedaha Bhuya Shrutischa Samidadi Yajin Bhinatti Vakyam Na Karma Vidathati Sa Eva Madi Syadantarala Vachane Yajater Vidhanam. So all these Shabdantara, Abhyasa, Paurnamasi, all these are presented in that. But we find that though it is there, all the Panchavayava of Adhikarana can be found there, but it is very difficult because not all the things were not covered exactly. So Vidyaranya Swami felt that another book is required in which all these are presented without leaving anything. So thus he had written, on the request of Bukkaraya Mahipati, that the magnanimous Mīmāṃsā Nyayamala. So Mīmāṃsā Nyayamala was finished, but again a request was made that that should be explained further. Then Mīmāṃsā Nyayamala Vistara was also written by our Vidyaranya. The Anandashrama had long back published the entire Mīmāṃsā Nyayamala Vistara. All the 12 chapters were covered there. And later some people had edited and published, along with commentaries and explanations, the 3 chapters only. That means till the end of the Shesha topic. So thus the Mīmāṃsā Nyayamala Vistara came into existence to facilitate easy understanding of the Mīmāṃsā Shastra. Otherwise it's very difficult. Very, very difficult, definitely. And lifelong study is required to understand Mīmāṃsā Shastra first, then connect the Shastra with other Shastra, and remember the final theories of Mīmāṃsā Shastra. It's really very difficult. As I told you, Vedanta Shastra also draws inspiration more from the Mīmāṃsā Shastra, and Mīmāṃsā tenets are very frequently referred to in the Vedanta Shastra, Sahitya Shastra, Nyaya Shastra. So therefore, the knowledge and thorough knowledge of Mīmāṃsā Shastra was inevitable, even in the explanation of other Shastra. Thus, the Rathantara Nyaya, Arunadhikarana Nyaya, then we have the Nishada Sthapati Nyaya. So all these Nyayas stand us in good stead, especially when we try to explain the other Shastra. Otherwise, all the while it will be very difficult for us to get the idea. So I am of the impression that the most revered Vidyaranya Swami, through his colossal work, had really paved the path, an easy path, Samruddhi Marga, into the Mīmāṃsā Shastra. And a beginner in the Shastra can also understand the Purvapaksha, Siddhanta Paksha, Yukti, then Sangati. And the unique feature of this commentary, as I understood from the text, is that first three Adhikaranas, he explains what Kumarila Bhatta says and what Prabhakara Bhatta also says. Thus, the Bhatta Mata and Guru Mata both are presented, but later he himself says that hereafter my explanation of the Adhikarana will be mostly according to Bhatta Mata, not Guru Mata. That means Prabhakara Mata is not taken, but later towards the end of the text he will intermittently refer to the views of Prabhakara Bhatta also here and there. And second thing, very interesting is, though he mostly bases his explanation on Bhatta view, sometimes he refers to this is Bhashyakara Mata. So Bhashyakara Matamidam, then Vrittikara Matamidam, then Bhattanusaram Idamaha, and Guru Matam Atrochyate. So thus we can find a very beautiful collection, compilation of all this, and we can easily understand how difficult it is to present the final theory, because the author must have studied all the texts and must have understood the relative value of each theory. Then he can present that as the final theory. And Swami Vidyaranya, as he was, as Madam said, he was Sarvadnya and direct disciple of Bharati Tirtha Swami then. Therefore, we can understand that he had full mastery over all the Shastras, that it was not very difficult for him. So he could easily actually tread through the jungle of Mimamsa Shastra. So here we'll find that Bhashyakara Mata, Vrittikara Mata, Bhatta Mata, Guru Mata, and own understanding. All these are presented in the Mimamsa Nyayamala Vistara. And there, as occasion demands, he had explained the various Vidhi also. Because Vidhi is part of the entire Mimamsa Shastra. And Adhato Dharma Jijnasa, the very definition of Dharma according to Mimamsa is Chodana Lakshanartho Dharma. Then what is this Chodana? Then Chodanam Apurvam Ahuhu. This is Vartikakara. Of course, the idea is found in the Bhashya itself. So, what is this Chodana? And ultimately they say it is Dharma, it is Apurva. All these are to be connected. So when Mimamsa Shastra is talking about Dharma, hidden idea is it is Vidhi only. And Vidhi is definitely the sentence of Apurva. Because the entire Yajna Vidhi is based on Apurva. If Apurva is denied, then Yajna will become meaningless. Actually, there is one Apurva Adhikarana, and in that particular Adhikarana, they have discussed in detail how Phala Purva, Avantara Purva, all these are produced. So when a person performs a religious ceremony according to the Vedic injunction, then a new samskara is produced, apurva, and that apurva in the form of different fragmentary apurva gets connected in order to produce the maha apurva, and that apurva will take the yajamana to phala. So phalotpatti janana samarthyavat apurvam. So this is the connection that we find there, and there the vidhivakya, that means the Vedic sentences laying down some injunction are of different nature. Some are utpatti vidhi, that means which enjoins the nature of some yajna, like swarga kamo yajeta, okay, but jyotishtoma yajeta. So jyotishtoma is presented there. Then how jyotishtoma should be performed, who should perform, all these come there. Then we have viniyoga vidhi. So viniyoga vidhi, this anga pradhana sambandha bodhako vidhi. So we find there that what is the principal act and what are the subservient and subordinate acts. That means so many acts connect in order to form a principal act. So the pradhana and apradhana, or you can say anga angi, or shesha sheshi, upakara upakarya. These need to be connected, and the viniyoga vidhi sentences, they help us connect. Of course, we have the 6 pramanas to ascertain the nature of anga, because in the 3rd chapter beginning only, when shesha, that means anga swarupa, has to be explained, the sutrakara himself has said shesha pararthaha. What is shesha is different, but shesha, the very nature of shesha is that it is parartha. What is parartha? The bhashya says parasmai yat tat parartham. Ultimately it is parartha because it is parasmai, not for its own sake. So when a particular action is done for the sake of another bigger one, the subordinate one becomes anga, shesha, upakaraka. Then we have here the types of anga also, and various types are explained, like the some people say only dravya is anga, some people say karma anga, but Sutrakara says the samskara, purusha, all these are anga only. So their views are presented there, like Badari's view, Jaimini's view, all these are views are presented in the 3rd chapter of Mīmāṃsā Shastra. And this particular one actually you can say influenced or inspired Bhagavad Ramanujacharya also to come to the theory of the Visishtadvaita, Shesha Sheshi Bhava, Anga Angi Bhava, Upakari Upakaraka Bhava. Very beautiful one, in which the entire universe, along with the Jiva, Prakriti, Jiva, they become Shesha for the Sheshi, Sarva Sheshine, that is Venkateshwara or Narayana. So everything is Shesha, because Paragata Atishaya Adhanechaya Upadiyamanatvam. So the Para is Paramatma, and Tat Atishaya Ichaya Upadiyamanatva. That means everything is for the sake of the Paramatma. So this kind of theory was framed. That is a different thing. So Viniyoga Vidhi is thoroughly understood with the help of the 6 pramana only: Shruti, Linga, Vakya, Prakarana, Sthana, Samakhya. And each one, starting with Shruti, each one is stronger than the later. Thus, Shruti is the strongest. Nirapeksha Ravaha Shrutihi. It is Vidhatri, Abhidhatri, and again we have some 3 types. So thus, Shruti is that sentence which does not require any other pramana for its strength. It is self-authority. That is Shruti. Then we have Linga, that is Samarthya. Whether it is Shabdagata, Arthagata, it is a Rudi. Then we have Shruti Linga Vakya, Vakyam Samabhivyaharaha. Then we have Prakarana, then Sthana, Samakhya. All these are there. Samakhya is the Yogika Shabda, and that is the weakest one, and each one is stronger than the other, like till we attain or arrive at the Shruti. This is Viniyoga Vidhi. So Viniyoga Vidhi is the stronger one. It actually enjoins the relation of the principal and subordinate. Without this, we cannot perform an action. So in the Mimamsa Nyayamala Vistara, in few places, Vidyaranya Swami really understands the importance of this and connects with that. Then we have Prayoga Vidhi. This is performance of ritual, real performance. And it actually lays down the order. In the Prayoga Vidhi, we have the order. In Viniyoga Vidhi, we have the Angangi Bhava. And in this order also, some 6 Krama Vidhi, 6 are there. Then we have Adhikara Vidhi. Adhikara Vidhi, who is eligible, who is qualified? Like in the Mimamsa Shastra is discussed that a physically handicapped cannot be eligible for the performance of the rituals. So, Yajna Karmani, Shrote Karmani, Tesham Anadhikaraha, Purushasya Adhikara. Who, what kind of Purusha? That is discussed in the Bhashya, and that particular entire gist of the discussion is presented in the Mīmāṃsā Nyayamala Vistara. So, Adhikara is very important. Apart from these, there are other like Parisankhya Vidhi, Niyama Vidhi, Apurva Vidhi. So, these you find in the Siddhantalesha-sangraha beginning also, when they talk about Atmavare Drashtavyaha. So, what kind of Vidhi is that? Darshana is Vidhiyate. Or Darshanam Anudya Shravana Manana Nididhyasanani Vidhiyante, they say. Is there really a Vidhi? But then, if they are not Vidhi, so in what context they need to be understood? Because you have Shrotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nididhyasitavyaha, Drashtavyaha, all Tavya Pratyaya, they are Vidhi Pratyaya only. Then Shankaracharya had taken up this point for discussion in his Brahma Sutra Bhashya, the Tattva Samanvayat Sutra, and there he had said, Vidhi Chayani Vakyani Drishyante. They are actually not Vidhi, he says. Shankara Bhagavad-pada explains that all these sentences look like Vidhi, but there is no Vidhi. And Appaya Dikshitendra also had discussed this and presented that whether it is Apurva Vidhi, Niyama Vidhi, Parisankhya Vidhi, then he said, actually there is no Vidhi. Because there cannot be a Vidhi. So, this particular Vidhi part is very important one. And when Vidhi Vakyas are there, what do they lay down? So, we have the various Shrauta Yajna according to the Shabara Bhashya, 4th chapter. That is, actually 4th chapter deals with the Kratvartha Purushartha Vichara. There, Chatvaro Vai Mahayajnaha. He says, 4 Mahayajnas are there. Agnihotra, Darshapurnamasa, Jyotishtoma and Pindapitur Yajna. Jyotishtoma is the Prakriti Yaga. What is Prakriti Yaga? So it is explained very clearly that Sangha Pratipadana Yatra Yasyava. So, for example, if a particular Vedic ritual is explained with all the procedure, all the subservient actions also, then it becomes the Prakriti Yaga. Anga Vikala, if some Angas are missing, then it is Vikriti Yaga. So this is Prakriti Yaga, Vikriti Yaga. Like Saura Yaga is a Vikriti Yaga, and Jyotishtoma, these are all Prakriti Yaga. So these yajnas were to be performed. And for this particular yajna system only, the Kalpa, Jyotishya, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Chanda, Mimamsa, all these had come into existence only to explain the nature, the purpose of this yajna. And when we go back to the tradition, we have the Jaimini Maharishi, the first who had given the principles of Pura Mīmāṃsā Nyaya, and this basically deals with the interpretation of sentences, sentence interpretation of the Veda. And we have 12 chapters of this, where the first chapter, Dharma Jijnasa, Dharma Parikshan, then we have all types of karma. Then third chapter, Shesha, Vichara, then Kratvartha Purushartha. Then we have the Krama Bheda. Then 6th chapter Adhikara, as we had discussed. Then Samanya Atidesha and Vishesha Atidesha are explained in the 7th and 8th. Then we have the Uha. Uha is basically Kalpana or Tarka. Rakshohagama Lakvasandeha Prayojanam, Patanjali Maharshi says. And Avignata Tattvearthe Karanopatitaha, Tattvajnanartham Uhas Tarkaha. Gautama Maharshi also lays down in one of his sutras this Uha. Then Mimamsa Sutra also takes this Uha in the context of Vedic ritual. Then Badha. Badha is actually contradiction. In other Shastra, generally Badha is explained as Virodha also. Then Tantra, various types of Tantra. Then Prasanga. So with this, the Mimamsa Sutra ends. And in the same order, Mīmāṃsā Nyayamala Vistara explains not only these, the Purvapaksha view, the Uttarapaksha view, the Sangati, Yukti. See, you have all the important ingredients of Adhikarana in the Mīmāṃsā Nyayamala Vistara. So, first, the Purvapaksha view is given, then their Yukti, then Sangati, then Uttarapaksha and Uttarapaksha Yukti. And finally, very beautifully, Vidyaranya Swami gives this sentence, Tasmat Ayamatra Radhantaha, Ayamatra Siddhantaha. So therefore, it is the heart of a father that Vidyaranya Swami is explaining the text. Then the entire Yajna system on which the Mimamsa Shastra is dependent, we find here that Dharma is Yajna, which is stated in the Mimamsa Bhashya itself. Dharmakhyam Vishayam Voktum Mimamsaya Prayojanam. Yagadireva Dharma. All the other Mimamsak also explain that Dharma is in the form of action. And action is not all worldly action, but it is the action that is laid down in the Veda. So, Vaidikaha Yagadireva Dharmaha. And that is in the form of Yajna. And this particular Dharma needs to be thoroughly explained, expounded, and Mimamsa Shastra comes in for this purpose. So, Veda offers some Vidhivakya, and these Vidhivakyas contain the matter as Dharma, and that Dharma, when performed, produces Apurva, and that Apurva leads us to the achievement of the result in the form of Swarga, other, as it depends on the person. So this is the connection. And in this context, as I explained to you, Shruti is the ultimate authority. Shruti does not require any other means for the assertion of its validity or authority. See, when it is authority, you cannot question that. Why? Because no other is as capable as this. See, you cannot you cannot assess the speed of photon with another, because it cannot move faster than this photon. Similarly, when Shruti is there, no other can help you understand or ascertain the authoritativeness of this Shruti. So thus Shruti is ultimate. And of course, Shruti decides that Angatva, but other things are also there. When this Vakya is not direct or directly available, then you depend on the other, like the sentential competence, word competence, or the sentences being uttered in a kind of proximity or prakarana. Then where it is, whether it is Darshapurnamasa or other, the sthana, all these you depend on. Then Mimamsa Nyayamala Vistara discusses these all important topics of Mimamsa Shastra, not leaving even a very important small thing also. It doesn't leave it. It includes that. And thus, the Bharadwaja Gotra Swami Vidyaranya, born in Warangal in Telangana state now, belonged to the Bodhayana Sutra, Yajushakha, Smartha Brahmin, and his brothers were Sri Sayanacharya, whom he always remembers with all reverence, and Bhoganatha. So in the Parashara Madhaviyam, we find all the biographical information of this Vidyaranya Swami. He had written on Vyakarana, Mimamsa, Smriti, Purana, astronomy, Mantrashastra, music, Darsana and Advaita Vedanta. We find all these works, Jaiminiya, Nyayamala, Parashara, Smriti Vyakarana, Smriti-Sangraha, Vyavahara, Madhava, Vidyātirtha-Dipika, Vyakarana-Sangraha, Panchadashi, very famous, and Jivanmukti Viveka, equally very famous text, Drisya Viveka, Aparokshanubhuti-Tika, and 6 Upanishad-Dipikas. So he was the Sringeri Sharada Pitha Acharya Jagadguru. So Jagadguru Vidyaranya Swami. And as he presents in the beginning of the text only, this Mimamsa Nyayamala Vistara is in 2000 verses. In 2000 verses, Swami Vidyaranya gives or explains the 1000 topics of Mimamsa Shastra. So in the beginning itself, he explains how difficult it is. But as he says in the introduction to his text, Eko Vishaya Sandeha Purvapaksha Avabhasakaha. So he says, the design of this particular text is in this manner that the first shloka, Ekaha, Vishaya Sandeha Purvapaksha Avabhasakaha. Shlokaha Aparastu Siddhantavadi. But this is Prayena. Therefore, in the Vistara he says, Shlokena, Shlokabhyam, Shlokairva, Yadha Sambhavam Nyayaha Sangrahyante. That means I try to present the Mimamsa Nyaya. Nyaya means all the theories, sometimes with the help of one shloka, sometimes with the help of 2, sometimes more than 2. And Chatvaraha Avayavaha, Eka Shlokena Uktaha Kvachit Kvachit, Yatra Kwapi Bahu Shlokai Uchate, Ataha Na Vistaraha. So don't think that unnecessarily the text is elaborated. So he says that, and he presents the Shastra Sangati, Adhyaya Sangati, Pada Sangati, and many other Sangati, Vidhi, Arthavada, Smriti, and the important discussions found in the Bhashya, like the Bhavana, Vyaparo Bhavana, Saiva Utpadana, Saiva Chakriya, Kriyaha Akarmakata Avatte, Nahi Atnortha Ishyate. This is actually in the Vyakarana Shastra, but Vyapara Bhavana, that is taken, Bhavana is explained in the Mimamsa Nyayamala Vistara on the line of the Bhashya and Bhatta. Of course, sometimes he follows Parthasarathi Mishra also, especially in the explanation of the Kratvartha and Purushartha. That particular part, we find the influence of Parthasarathi Mishra, but ultimately, the text is so helpful that whoever wants an easy entry into the Shastra of Mimamsa will highly get benefited because of the scientific design of the text, and all credit goes to our Vidyaranya Swami. Actually, I have jotted down some points, some examples like Satyameva, Nanratam Vadet, etc. But because I have seen Sridharacharya and other getting active, I think that my time is over, given time is over. So that's why I will not elaborate on this. We will discuss this if time permits later any time. So thank you all, and my respected Acharya Nagaraj sir is also there. I offer my humblest pranam to him also. Namaste sir.
Thank you very much, Pennaji. I think the nature of the topic itself is such that even a one-day lecture is not enough. Mimamsa is such a topic. So we apologize for not giving more time for keeping the sessions short. Thank you for the wonderful, very insightful presentation.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, thank you very much.